Hello and welcome to She the People. Today we are here for our online safety summit, which is powered by Colors. The summit attempts at all stakeholders coming together and exploring a consolidated approach on online safety for women. We are here to talk about the pandemic of online violence against women and how to combat it. Our experts here will share experiences, lessons, and eventually will make suggestions how to better the future ahead of us. At this point, I'll introduce you to my panelists and take a minute first to mention that this discussion is in partnership with Center for Social Research, a partnership She the People deeply cherishes. Our first panelist today is Dr. Samir Parikh. Dr. Parikh is a consultant psychiatrist with Fortis Healthcare and is the director of Fortis National Mental Health Program. We also have with us Ashwini Obulesh. Ashwini is an advocate practicing before the High Court of Karnataka. She has a BA LLB and an LLM degree. She steers Nyaya's Kannada work, including legal content management and the Samvidhan Fellowship. We have with us Kareshma Khanna, who is the operations head at Gytree, and Jyoti Vadehra, who is the media and communications head for Center for Social Research, is also going to join us. I welcome you all to She the People. And while we cannot exist without the internet, cyber violence is an increasing problem worldwide and is often gender based and targeting women and girls. Dr. Parikh, I'll come first up to set the ground rule for this discussion. We are a country of very young people. Why does online safety matters when it comes to mental health and well-being of the entire young population? So with this point, I'll request you to set, the basics why we need to emphasize on online safety and mental health.
So try and understand this. When you look at spaces where we exist or young people exist, let's say, what are those spaces? Your home, your, let's say, neighborhood playgrounds, your schools. For slightly young adults, we are looking at colleges. So that's by and large the spaces where young people exist. Now, we can't deny the reality that the digital world is very much an integral part of where youth exists or young people are. They are there for their connecting with their social network. They are there to check out what's happening in the world. They are using it as an integral means of both existence and communication. So that's a place where they're out there. In a way, it's like being in any public place. So when a child leaves home and they go to a public place, so wherever children are going, or young people are going, all of these places, we need to have safety so that children feel secure, they can express themselves, they are not bullied, they don't go through negative experiences, because all of these experiences will have a long-term sequela. That's why digital space has to be taken very seriously by all of us. And we need to make it a goal that digital space needs to be a place where young people can thrive without hesitation, express themselves, and not a place where they may go through negative experiences which can have an impact on their life, their mental health, and their growth, their movement as they move forward in life.
So at this point, I'd like to come to you, Ashwini, and speak to you about the various kinds of problems that women face online. A majority of which is, sharing of images, sometimes intimate ones, without consent. The first reaction we have is a shock. So I'd like you to discuss a bit about how women should respond when they get themselves into such situations and be aware of certain legal laws, etc., that they should be aware and keep in mind.
Right, thank you. At the outset, I'd like to agree with Dr. Samir Parikh and say that today cyberspace has become such an integral part of our lives. And I'd like to go a step further and say it pervades all sorts of distinctions such as class, caste, gender, urban, rural. So it goes beyond all these boundaries, because of which the problems, I mean, of course, the benefits of cyberspace itself are huge and immense, and there are uh, um, immense possibilities. However, the threats and the potential problems that it brings, especially to women and children who are basically on the receiving end of any sort of attacks or misogyny or any of these negative spaces that are created within the cyberspace, are also immense. So, the first reaction, like you said, that a woman or a child would deal with is shock and say, I would also say shame, because in so many cases, the perpetrator, more often than not, makes the victim believe that she is responsible, right? Or she also participated in such an activity, which, later on went on to be viral, I suppose. So, firstly, it is very important for women to believe that it is not their fault, or the children to believe, whoever is a victim of child sexual abuse, to believe that it is not their fault, and not to treat themselves harshly or, with shame. Secondly, it is extremely important for women and children in these spaces to not hesitate to report the crime, because more often than not, because of the shame, because of the anger towards oneself, because of the guilt that one faces, it becomes so difficult for us to even open up about these issues to our own family. Forget approaching a police station, right? So, secondly, we'll have to remember that women, children must never hesitate to report the perpetrator. But I also acknowledge as a lawyer that there are systemic hindrances, I will say, or say impediments to this process, which are very, very valid. If I like, I have heard so many women mention that they cannot enter a police station by themselves. Now, there are dedicated and systemic mechanisms to deal with these crimes. Um, However, there are these impediments as well. So it is completely up to the woman, although it is her right to go up to a police station, go up to a cyber cell and report the crime. It is, we must also keep in mind the repercussions such a complaint will have on the woman or the child's mental health, right? So we'll have to keep all these things into account while we suggest to someone go report it. But that having been said, report the crime is something that we always, say, and in fact use it as a slogan, because one, there are mechanisms for your benefit. Number two, if you're going to be silent, it is only going to encourage the perpetrator. If it is not you today, it is some other woman. So it would do you a favor, and also the society at large a favor, if you report such crimes. And thirdly, and most importantly, how women must deal with it perhaps is, seek help if you are in need of mental health support, or if you're in need of, say, a support of of any kind. So, be it talking to a counselor about it, be it approaching a lawyer to understand your legal rights, or be it also approaching your own friends, family, to understand if, you're not alone in that space, because women deal with violence, abuse, harassment every day of our lives. So we must acknowledge that we're not alone, and as a community, basically form a community of supporters for victims of such crimes. So that is my 2 cents on your question on this.
Absolutely. Jyoti, I'll come to you, as a communication specialist, and especially with an organization which is working towards online safety. A big challenge about online and cyber bullying or cyber crime is not being able to tell apart what is fake and what is real. Talk to us a little bit about this issue, and how do we do this, especially when all our communication today and news is consumed through social media, where it is very difficult to tell what is real and what is fake.
Yeah, thanks, Deepshikha. So I would begin by saying that I completely agree with Dr. Parikh and Ashwini. The digital existence right now is all pervasive. Every aspect of our life is, is permeating into the digital space and vice versa. And also, thank you for saying that asking for help is important, and it's not your fault. What CSR's message has been to women and children for almost a decade now is that asking for help is cool and you should reach out, report the crime. We've been, working on issues of online safety and digital well-being for women and children for over a decade now. And one of the biggest challenges, like you said, Deepshikha, has been identifying fake from real. For this, we all need to do our part, and be responsible digital citizens, to be critical thinkers. Everything published online cannot be trusted. So before you start, if all of us, before we start sharing messages, images, data, please verify where the message is coming from, and be that one link in the chain that breaks that cycle of misinformation. And it has a huge role to play in making online spaces safe for women. Now we can take the example of the protests in Iran, and the fake news that protesters were going to be or supposed to be executed. This information was shared by social influencers as well as leading governments of the world, and then later it was deleted. What it did was it took the attention away from the real issue of the plight of women there and onto the spread of false news. Instances like these, they are a great threat to women's online safety and also offline. So again, I urge everyone to verify your sources before spreading any news. You never know who is reading your post or where it's going to reach and the impact it's going to have. Yeah, so that's what I want to say about fake and real online.
Yeah. So, here I'll come to Karishma quickly and ask you, Karishma, you are working with an organization which is trying to set up safe spaces for women when it comes to their health. Not just their mental health, their reproductive health, about in questions about intimate hygiene, intimate health, etc. And there's a huge amount of judgment which is associated with women and their bodies. So to you, I ask, why is it important to create such safe spaces on the internet and make women aware that internet is not all bad, and it is can be utilized for this safe as a safe zone.
Thank you, Deepshikha. It's a very essential question because do you know that 60% of women, working women, leave their career because of an health issue sometime in their life? That's a very big number and very alarming. So, when we were working on Gytree and we were talking to hundreds of women, what we came across was that why is this happening? What's the root cause? Because women are not talking about their sexual health, their menstrual health, their reproductive health for that matter, or mental health, because they are scared, they are reluctant, they feel that they'll be judged, they'll be maybe body shamed because of, particularly if you have PCOS or something like that. So, which is leading to further deterioration of this health issue. Now, if we want 50% of our population to be healthy, to be prosperous, we need to take care of their health and to make spaces which are accessible for them, safe for them, and judgment free, so that they come and talk about these issues. Because unless they come and talk about it, they won't get a solution. So that's why creating such spaces becomes extremely crucial. And offline, mein to you already know that there is a lot of judgment and hesitation that comes in. But online was some solace. But with all this trolling and, as Jyoti said, identifying fake from real, and with data breach, there is again that fear that is eaten. So that's why it is very important for platforms like maybe ours and many such to come up with a safe, judgment-free, and very personalized space for these women. So yeah.
At this point, I'd like to come back to you, Dr. Parikh, and speak to you about, the mental health issues that young girls are also facing because of the kind of trolling that they face, the hypersexualization often that they face on social media. The entire social media experience often for very young girls can be traumatic because again of the judgment that is associated with it.
So I think one, we need to understand that social media experience is as real for young people as what a experience in a physical space would have been. First, adults need to understand this, because a lot of times we feel message it, ignore it. We need to understand it is very real for them. Second aspect we need to understand is that we've really not empowered young people with the right kind of media literacy skills, because we ourselves are not very media literate. We don't understand media literacy. How will we empower young people with? So what's happening is, it's not a fleeting comment that you heard and you passed away. It's something which is now there on your timeline. It's there forever. You know it, and you know others are seeing it. It starts a vicious cycle for you, and it forces you to question yourself. It forces you that, should I be here? Should I avoid this? It may also force you, am I this? And either ways, it brings you a sense of insecurity. You feel unsure about yourself. It brings a very negative experience in a space which ideally should have been safe enough for you, because you will exist in this space. There is no way young people of today will not be existing in digital spaces of tomorrow. There is no way that's going to happen. And if those spaces are not safe, they'll constantly be experienced through various forms of trolling, bullying, abuse, sexual transgressions. All of this is going to happen. All of this, you need to understand, is a crossing of a line. It's being bullied, it's being bulldozed. And what it does, it brings helplessness. It brings a sense of horror. It brings a sense of distress. It's a traumatic experience. It is traumatic in a way that it would have the same impact had this been a ragging or a bullying happening in the physical space. It can, in fact, bullying now is considered as one of the top important factors that correlates to mental illnesses. So look at that aspect. Now, these are also formative years. You are forming a self-concept, your self-esteem, your body image, your relationship dynamics are being formed, your communication patterns are being formed. This is a time when you need to feel good about yourself and learn more about your own self and strength. This is not a time when you are bulldozed by negativity. So whether it is low self-esteem, poor body image, self-blame, guilt, helplessness, feelings of worthlessness, feeling that I will not be helped by people, distrust, mistrust on people, losing relationships, not being able to have rapport with people or trust on people, have sleep impairment, anxiety features, depressive features, self-harming, all of this is associated with trolling. Yes, we are talking about issues related to safety of the girl child, women, young women, but frankly, trolling does not have a gender to it. Irrespective of the gender, a young person who's trolled, for that individual, this is a highly traumatic experience which can have a debilitating effect on their life. It can bring a sense of disability when it comes to their psychological well-being and have a negative impact on their future. We must understand it in the seriousness that it is there. I've seen so many young people not being able to go to school post episodes like this. So many school dropouts, so many people who aren't able to make friends and enjoy anymore. So many people who become isolated. So many people who lose a sense of their own self, a cohesive sense of their own self. And this is happening day in and day out. And that's why I think not just conversations like this, but we need to find solutions. And solutions have to be developing zero tolerance towards any form of trolling, bullying when it comes, especially for young people, so that no lines are crossed and we create safe spaces. If we don't do it now, generations are going to blame us for failing our own children.
Absolutely. So, Jyoti, quickly, I'll come to you here. While we have already, Dr. Parikh has spoken about media literacy, and we've been talking about how we need to instill the sense of safeness in children. And young adults. So, talk to us about your experience with the advocacy programs and the kind of changes you have observed that awareness can create.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Parikh, about bringing up the point of empowering young children and empowering women. Capacity building. These are the three pillars of our practice for ensuring online safety and digital well-being. We believe in empowering the digital citizen with right tools for a safe experience online and not in a protectionist way of dealing with the issue. The key is the key to their well-being lies in the awareness of correct safety mechanisms or tools to stay safe online. So when we gauge impact we can see a clear positive effect on overall engagement and also correct reporting and escalation of cases and their handling. So that is what we've seen in the past years of our experience with workshops, with seeing cases of violence, steps of redressal, proper redressal of those issues online.
Right. So at this point, can I come to Ashwini and speak to you about something which has been mentioned here? Whatever is written on social media is there on our timeline and the world gets to see it. However, there is an alternate world of the DMs, where unsolicited messages are coming, which can be even more debilitating to the mental health, because we all know the nature of those messages are even vulgar. So talk to us a little bit about the kind of laws we need to know, how to respond, and how to react to such kind of trolling if we come face to face.
Right. So first and foremost, I think what we must acknowledge is that all these acts, be it sharing of your picture without your consent, be it sharing of any obscene material with you over DMs or even on your wall or on your WhatsApp, all of these are offenses under law. So we need to make it extremely clear to all the people who are using social media that these are offenses, and by offenses I mean these are criminally penalized. So it's not just being fined or not just paying some compensation and getting away with it. It has jail time, it has fines, and jail time and fines combination, right? So which means that the law treats these offenses very seriously. Some of In some of the cases under the Information Technology Act as well as the IPC, the jail time can go up to 10 years as well. So even the IPC, although it's regressive in so many measures, it still has provisions like outraging the modesty of a woman or voyeurism. So these are or sexual harassment, which was introduced by a latest amendment. So these are provisions that women can use to fight against these forms of abuse. Now, first and foremost, what I'd like to say is as soon as you encounter any sort of abuse or harassment, kindly report it. I think most of us do it instinctively, which is a great thing. I mean, report and block. I think that's point number one. I think most of us do it, but some of us are hesitant when it comes to intimate partner abuse because you do not want to block someone you used to love or you still love, right? So that is the biggest challenge because on the one hand, you're fighting your personal feelings for that person, and on the other side, he is violating your rights and your bodily integrity, right? So that is the point where it becomes slightly complicated. But number one, report and block. Number two, you must approach the cyber cell or the online crime reporting portal Both of these are separate mechanisms. When I say cyber cell, each city will have a police station that's designated to be an online harassment cyber cell, right? So you must approach your closest police station, which is designated as such a cell, and kindly report the incident. Now, this is not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is your right to go up there and report the incident. I think you have to take the first step to claim your rights, and this is the first step one would be taking, right? So, secondly, and this is when some offenses are grave in nature, it is another approach to go file a first information report or a criminal complaint in the closest police station. Now, why I'm saying this is the online or the crime or all the cyber cell remedy is one angle of it. The other angle is, like I said, there are provisions in the Indian Penal Code as well, which punish these offenses. So, if the offense is grave, or if you do not know where your cyber cell is, or closest cyber cell is, go to the nearest police station and file a complaint or an FIR against the perpetrator. Now, what this complaint must have in terms of details is your name, the perpetrator's name, what the incident is, what happened, right? At what time did it happen, on what day, exactly what happened, and what was the offense, right? So these are as simple as it gets when it comes to any lay person can walk up to a station and file this complaint and say, my right has been violated, the state must intervene. So this is one of the most important ways of dealing with online harassment. Of course, there are few other ways of doing it. One is you can call the women's helpline number, which is 181, right? There is also a separate portal started by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which allows you to file complaints online in terms of cyberspace offenses. So these are several initiatives that anyone can take, a victim can take to fight against harassment. I'd like to add this small anecdote, which I read recently in a book, which is social change is always intimate, right? So we don't have to go out there, be a part of some, lead some protest, and change the world. The moment we change these intimate personal spaces, which are more often than not so discriminatory, so abusive, I think that is where social change will begin, and that is where I'd like to end my 2 cents. Yeah.
Right. So social change, I mean, and that takes me to you, Karishma. Talk to us a little bit about, your experience, your research when you started working on a platform like yours, which is empowering women and coexisting in this huge world wide web where there's so many concerns we all have while using it.
So, we've already discussed how digitally we've penetrated to the most unreachable paths. So that makes internet the most powerful tool. So when we are dealing with a medium that is so powerful, so imagine the impact it can create. So when it comes to creating positive impacts, these online platforms play a very, significant role. And I'll say for me, there are two ways you can empower women using online platforms. Number one is awareness, and number two is accessibility. And that's what we were thinking when we were creating Gytree's vision. That why are we here for? Do we empower women? So number one is by creating awareness. It could be form of content or something like what we are doing right now through a panel discussion. So legit content going out there, talking about issues that are not being spoken about, and empowering women with the right knowledge is one way. That internet can, on online platforms like yours and ours, can play a significant role. And second thing is that once we've addressed and create that awareness, how do we make them, give them access to the solutions? So maybe I can create awareness that this is, through Gayatri, that these are the health issues that you might face at a certain age, or give them a heads up, these are the blood tests that you need to do. But what is, how can I make it accessible to them? So providing them also tools to access those and get solutions is another way we can empower them. So yes, That's what is Gayatree's vision, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So, we will wrap this session up by coming to each one of you and speaking to you about how you guys look at using the online space, cyberspace, safely. So, Jyoti, first I come to you to ask you, in your personal experience, how do you handle negative comments, or what would you tell people who are coming through your programs about handling negative comments on the cyberspace?
Okay. So I would, like to say a few things since Ashwini brought up a point about intimate images being shared online, and also finding, clear mechanisms where you can find redressal either online or going to the police station. At this point, when we as an organization, since we are a women's empowerment organization, us as CSR and as well as our director and everyone who works there, we receive a lot of online trolling, bullying, harassment, abuse, and we've been dealing with that for a long time. And so, what we wanted to do for women was make redressal easy and make it easy for them to report and do so anonymously. While getting all kinds of support, mental health support, counseling, legal aid, family counseling. So what we tried to do is we made a survivor assist kit which is on our website. Anyone can access that kit, and it's got all sections of all sorts of redressal mechanisms, be it platforms, how you can report to different platforms, how you can find legal help. There are helplines. There is an entire glossary of the kind of abuse that is happening online, because sometimes abuse happens and people don't recognize what is actually happening to them until it gets too late. So we have all of that online, and I would encourage everyone to go look at that, and it just makes life a little bit easier. Then I would like to also talk about stopncii.org. It's an initiative, a UK initiative by revengeporn.com, where all platforms have come together, and it's made reporting of non-consensual images that are being shared online a lot more easy and accessible for everyone. Even if you and you don't need to share your image, the platform creates a hash of your image and it shares it amongst partner platforms, and then even people there who are handling those cases don't actually see that image, but it gets taken down if it flouts any of those rules or community standards in those platforms. So that is one step forward that we took last year, and it's been a year, and like thousands of cases have been resolved and people have been helped. Now, to in general, before I leave, there are a few things that I want to just put out there. One is, I would like to say to everyone that try to interact with accounts like you would do in real life, and make it positive. Secondly, use anonymity for good. We see that why are people trolling and abusing online? Because they're anonymous, and people think that they can do whatever they can, under that veil. So use anonymity, but use it for some good. And I'm saying this because I hope someone will hear this message and understand what we're trying to say. Please report accounts which are negative, and this will not just keep you safe but also your network. Everyone in your network will know, or be can stay clear of that negativity. There are a lot of new safety tools and mechanisms that platform come up with almost on daily basis. So when you get that small pop up where it says that we've updated something for you, or there are new tools that are available, please explore them. They are for your benefit, so use it to your benefit. uh, be critical thinkers, like I said earlier. Please look at the information that you are receiving as well as sharing. Try and not share as many unknown messages as you get. When you are getting harassed and abused online, the first thing you should do is, take some proof, either take screenshots or archive those posts before they get deleted. Because sometimes the cases that we've handled, when there is no proof, there are no screenshots, uh, it gets difficult to catch someone or hold someone accountable. So take screenshots and archive posts or images that have been shared. uh, Keep interaction with strangers to a minimum. Don't engage with people who harass you. Engage, yes, we don't say that you should not speak up or use your right to speak up, but engage with caution. Like, think about how it's going to benefit you overall. What we really love saying to everyone in our workshops is, there is a 2-second rule. When you read a post, or if there is a post you are going to reshare or an image you're going to share, just take 2 seconds and ask yourself if it's going to hurt anyone, even if it's your own image. Just be a bit cautious about that. And finally, I know this is very redundant, but it's the most important thing. Please update your safety settings and your passwords. We all get very, very lazy when it comes to that. Please explore your safety settings very, very regularly. Half the issues can be resolved just by doing that.
Absolutely. So, excuse me, Ashwini, I'll come to you and give us like red flags. These are the things we should never interact on the internet with.
I don't know, because as a lawyer, there are all these dilemmas that we deal with on a daily basis. One dilemma that is very relevant here is right to freedom of speech and right to safety online. So before we can tell someone, hey, don't say that online, they will say, it is my right to freedom of speech. I'm entitled to say it. However, we must acknowledge the fact that freedom of speech is not an absolute right. It has reasonable restrictions. It is subjected to certain conditions, and you cannot possibly be abusive to someone and take recourse to right to freedom of speech under the constitution, right? So there are these dilemmas that I deal with on a daily basis in terms of advising clients, or in terms of even anything that I put up online on social media. So I'd like to begin with telling you what Nyaya is doing in terms of fighting online abuse. What Nyaya does is basically we create online content on how to deal with online harassment or online abuse. Now, this is not just what the law is or what you need to do, but it's a stepwise guide as to how you can deal with it. So it's not just a legal perspective, it has a socio-cultural legal element to it, which we try to make it as contextual as possible, because whoever you are, you must be able to utilize this guide to fight online harassment. So that is one attempt that we are making, and hopefully we will reach more people, and more people will visit the website, read our handbook on online harassment, and try to deal with it. In terms of red flags, very quickly, one is the obvious accounts. Like when someone you do not know sends you a friend request or says, uh, okay, I do not want to say objectionable stuff, but says some really, really catcalling language, uses catcalling language to say hi to you, that is a complete red flag. Like, I know sometimes people want to have fun, want to do some time pass, and they might, indulge at that moment. But there is a line that you need to draw. Wherever it is, wherever you want to draw that line, there is a line that you need to draw, where you tell the other person, hey, it is not cool for you to do this, or this is where I want to end this. So here's where the legal angle of consent also comes in. So consent is so important even to have conversations online, because if I give consent to say hi to someone, I may immediately withdraw it the next moment somebody says something offensive to me. So it's very important for us to gauge these boundaries as we talk. So one immediate red flag would be when someone uses catcalling language, abusive language to me upfront. Secondly, anyone who I do not know, haven't met in the course of life or work, who sends me a friend request, I think that is where I know there's a very low threshold to draw, but I draw my line there and say I will not accept that friend request. So, and thirdly, I've had school friends come back to me and act very weird online, right? So that is the other red flag. Like, these are school friends, you've known them like 10, 15 years ago, and they are friends, but there are these, I mean, we've grown in different ways, so that's also a red flag, because you know your friend, of course they've developed as individuals, grown as communities, whatever, but when a school friend comes back and starts acting in a different manner than what you knew that person way back in school, that also is a red flag. So I know, I mean, this is not at all a list, and we cannot be comprehensive at all, because there are always these, new cases and new forms of abuse, harassment. But yeah, what I'd like to say is basically we must draw boundaries extremely clearly, whatever those boundaries are. And these boundaries are bound to be different for different people, based on gender, caste, race, sex, whatever, and place of birth, wherever you are from. So what is acceptable to me as an urban English speaking, upper class woman might not be okay to a rural Dalit girl. So we need to draw boundaries accordingly, and the law perhaps cannot solve all these problems, but I think when we as individuals step up and go and claim our rights, I think that's where the first step we can take to fight online harassment.
Right. So, at the same time, it's also important to have some time off off internet, because our lives are so governed by the internet. So, Karishma, your closing comments on the fact, because professionally we are spending so much time online because that's what work is for us. So, how do you draw the line and take that little bit time off for yourself?
So, it is very difficult to draw the line, with nowadays with so much of information. But as what Dr. Parikh said, na, ki sometimes we take it very lightly because it's online. So, for myself particularly, I think I wouldn't want to differentiate I won't let my guards off just because it's online. And I'll be like, oh, somebody is stalking me or using abusive vocab in person, but when it comes online, it's okay, it's not okay. So so just be very vigilant, and just because somebody's talking you online, or just it's a message online, doesn't mean that it can be taken less seriously. And that being said, I think the second thing is that personally, I would, before I dwell into a platform, as you said, a lot of work is happening online, it's better to do a background check. It's better to read reviews, maybe see what people are saying. Has someone experienced? Because generally in reviews, you get to know what kind of people are visiting, what is their experience behind using any online community or platform for that matter, what is the background of the founders. So how credible that, because right now, from finance information to health information, everything is online. So before you share your details, your intimate information with personal information with anyone, or any platform for that matter, I think a good quality background check and reading reviews is important. So these are the two things that I personally do and would recommend a lot of people to do, to, like, be quite vigilant online.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
guys. I think we made some very clever and interesting and important points throughout this discussion. Dr. Parikh had to leave us because of another meeting, but he made the most important point at the beginning of the discussion, talking about that online is serious. We can't take online lightly. Jyoti, thank you for mentioning about NCII. Ashwini, you gave us the phone number 181. I think everyone should remember that. Karishma, thank you for talking about Gytree, about your own personal experience. I'll also like to mention that today will be the World Human Rights Day, and women rights is human rights, internet rights is human rights. Women have the right to exist on the internet safely. This is what our collective motto is, and we all believe in this cause. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you. I had a lovely time chatting with every one of you.
Thanks, Deepshikha. Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
thank you, Deepshika. Thank you.